Fellow internet inhabitants, welcome back to the Huberman podcast. If it had a baby, with the Joe Rogan Experience and David Goggins, and On Purpose, and Call Her Daddy, because there's some weird shit in here sometimes too. But hello, welcome back. We're so excited to have you. We can't believe people are listening. It's still really weird to us. Like, we're just talking. We're no different. But we just want to talk about fitness. We've gotten some crazy feedback the past couple of days, and it's just been
Incredible.
It's been so rewarding, just to say the least, because I just don't think we ever expected it to get. I mean, we have people who will comment at like something on the 30, 40-minute mark. We're like, you guys are listening? Wait, people are like, wow, okay, great. Today's episode number 5, we have got 8 questions that we were asked on our Instagrams, TikToks, our coaching community, and we felt like just sharing our answers and responses. Hopefully one to just give you a little bit of the insight into our mindsets, what our world is like, what this dimension of fitness is like over here on this side. And hopefully you should be able to hear 2 articulate, more Michael than me, 2 articulate people be able to just refer to themselves and their mindsets in a way that hopefully gives you something valuable. We're really excited to share some questions and answers with you. We usually have a plan, no plan. We're just going straight. Yeah, no thoughts, just vibes. No thoughts, just vibes.
It's like what goes on in my brain 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but wait, really quick before we start, tell them about your breakfast. It's Saturday morning, guys. It's 10 o'clock. Wait, because I want to pair it with an announcement. I want to pair it with a congratulations more than anything. But first, you had breakfast today. What was your breakfast and why?
Yeah. So I stayed somewhat in line with my goals. I had 2 Fairlife shakes to ensure I hit protein before I committed this act. We're not going to call it a sinful act or a good act. We don't assign emotions to the food that we eat. But I did a thing with my breakfast this morning that was quite interesting. We went to a nice steak dinner, one of my favorite restaurants here in the Atlanta area, called House Steakhouse to celebrate the announcement that's coming. And this morning I had this afternoon I had 2 Fairlife shakes to get 60 grams of protein, and then proceeded to follow it by absolutely deleting lobster truffle mac and cheese leftovers, a little bit of cream spinach, and some cheesecake. But I did get 60 grams of protein before I did that. So if you're going to have a little junk food, hit it on the front end with a little protein. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm running on truffle oil and good vibes, and I'm just ready to rip right now.
Just serotonin. We're running on serotonin is what's going on.
Lots of serotonin and saturated fat right now coursing through my veins to do it. So big news. For those of you out there listening, I have made the dive. I have committed. I have decided to stop pursuing fitness and my passion and what I truly love and what we're doing here as a side job, a side hustle, if you will. I made the dive. Yesterday, I quit my 9-to-5 job. And I have decided to pursue what we're doing here full time, coaching people like you, making them better every day through our content, through our podcast, and in our actual coaching community. I'm beyond excited. I'm getting chills talking about it. It was interesting timing because I had left my 3-year corporate job and moved into the private equity consulting firm, or industry rather. And it's a very cutthroat, very intense business sector. And I was excited to do it. I think I probably set a record at the company. I lasted 15 business days and then quit. They were very supportive. They completely understood what I wanted to do. There was no bad blood. I didn't burn any bridges. It's an incredible company full of incredible people, and I'm blessed that they didn't give me a hard time, though I put them in an unfortunate position of having to replace me after 3 full weeks. So I'm excited to give my all to you, Yusuf, to the people listening, to everybody. I'm just excited what comes out of being able to put 9 to 5 hours into this now. So with that being said, now that I'm a full-time coach and I guess social media person, I'm not going to call myself an influencer. I'll die on that hill. Let's get into question 1. Kate,
congratulations, first and foremost, on behalf of everybody.
You.
Congratulations, seriously.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
I remember talking to you and saying I was going to quit like maybe end of the year and see it out 6 months, and I didn't even make it a month.
In my head, I was like, no shot.
That didn't work. But I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's a Saturday morning and we're recording a podcast talking about what we love. And I feel humbled and blessed to be able to have the opportunity to help people do what I love and make a living off of it. Not a lot of people get that opportunity. So I know how lucky I am.
Yeah.
I want to make that very clear. So thank you, everybody, for making it possible. Now, let's get to Miss Kate's question. Kate asked what our thoughts are on CrossFit. That's a loaded question. I have a lot of thoughts on CrossFit and a lot of opinions. I've got some good, I've got some bad, and I'll share them all with you. I think the first thing I should disclose is that in another life, I was an avid CrossFitter for a rough 12 to 16 week stint. I go through weird phases with my training. I fall in love with certain, I guess, break-offs of physical training. Weightlifting's always home base. Right now, for me, I'm loving endurance training. I don't think that'll go anywhere. But I went through a stint with CrossFit. So I joined a CrossFit gym with a goal in mind of I wanted to be able to do a couple of things that I knew I couldn't figure out without the help of a coach. I wanted to be able to do double unders. For those of you who don't know, it's 2 revolutions with a jump rope and 1 jump. Kind of hard to do. I whipped my back many a times with the jump rope trying to figure that out. I wanted to be able to walk on my hands, and I wanted to be able to do bar muscle ups and ring muscle ups. And I told myself once I figure that out, I'll leave the CrossFit space. And I did. So I did. So my first opinion on CrossFit is I have done it and it can be a lot of fun and has a killer community aspect. I mean, it's a little bit of a cult, sort of like vegans and carnivores. You know,
Mm.
their vein
Toe
comes out of their
shoes,
forehead when they shake your
toe
hand. Toe
shoes,
shoes, kettlebells,
Subarus.
Subarus. Yeah, jinx. They're archetypes of people,
It's a personality.
but it has yes, it's a personality trait. It has pros in the way that I want to make it very clear that I am pro movement. If CrossFit is the alternative to somebody sitting on the couch and sitting on their ass, go do CrossFit fucking 5 days a week. I'm all for it. Where it falls short, I think, is people create unrealistic expectations of what's possible with their physique. I actually had a potential coaching client who I'm talking to right now DM me the other day and say, I'm very frustrated. I joined CrossFit gym 3 months ago and I've lost some weight, but I'm not really seeing the muscle gain that I want to. And I think that's where people have mismanagement of expectations. They see these elite CrossFitters, the Rich Fronings, the Matt Frasers, the Katrin David Stodders, and they just are jacked. I think an important notion to remember is that a lot of these people built their physiques in something outside of CrossFit. Matt Fraser, for example, world record Olympic weightlifter for 15 years before he ever touched a CrossFit Games. So he built his physique elsewhere. A lot of these people do structured powerlifting. So if the goal is muscle gain and you want to build muscle, you know now by listening to us, you have to be on a structured strength training program that forces linear progress. You either add weight to the bar week over week or you add reps to the set week over week. That's how we build muscle
Mm.
tissue. CrossFit can be a little bit random. It's a class setting a lot of times. You walk in, there's a workout of the day on the board. You may do a heavy compound movement and then right into the class workout. So there's not really any real structure that's going to force progress. And that was where I think it fell short for me was,
Mm.
okay, I'm not really proficient at snatches and cleans, and I don't think it'd be safe for me to do them till failure. Sure enough, I hurt myself doing snatches to failure in a workout of the day. So
Snatches
that's
to
kind of my
failure.
opinion at a high level. I'm curious. I don't think you've never done like a
Uh-uh.
group fitness like that, have you?
No, no. As a former gym general manager or a personal training director at a gym, CrossFit is virtually the villain in any. There's an ongoing antagonism towards CrossFit with most people's individual goals. If you're on the other side of pretty much anyone who's not in CrossFit, so like any personal trainer, anyone who works at a gym, anyone who's into even I might even say other cults like CrossFit don't even I don't want to say not like I want to make sure I'm not tripping over my words. So I'm trying to be careful because I'm not actually feeling any negative way towards CrossFitters. There's a stigma within the fitness industry or within other people within fitness who are coaches that CrossFit isn't the go-to that we've landed on. Usually it's going to be some sort of personal or basic structure in resistance training. CrossFit is like a different planet. Do you recommend CrossFit to the average American? Maybe even might be the question at the top instead of like, hey, what does Michael and Yusuf think about CrossFit? Would you recommend it to the average American? I'm wondering because you've done it. I haven't. I just know
Yeah,
it's just not. I don't need to do it to know that. I can see what
yeah,
it is if you've been in fitness and been a trainer. You just get it. You're just like, no, not IG. For some people, yes, athletes who can do those movements and do it with great form and proper execution, absolutely. For
right.
most people who haven't gotten the basics down, I would say absolutely not. Work up to it.
Hmm.
CrossFit can be a fun vehicle for movement. Absolutely. I think that's really what the main plus side of it is. But would you recommend it for the average American who doesn't have the basics down yet? I'm wondering.
Yeah. So let's define average really quick because I made a
Mm.
video where I talked about an average person and it wasn't well received. So I want to make sure I define. Average is inexperienced around weightlifting. If I say something like, make sure you retract your scapula for bench press, they look at me like I spoke Latin. What I mean by that is not well versed in training, not well versed in proper exercise form. The average person is not going to know how to snatch or clean or overhead squat. So for, Nancy or John working the 9 to 5 desk job, I'm not going to recommend CrossFit personally. That's my opinion. I think it can be very dangerous. I've seen people snap their shit up that are 9 to 5ers, and you're performing dangerous technical movements under fatigue. And when you're fatigued,
Mm.
you're not able to perform adequately as is. And then you've got to throw in form. You're not just doing push-ups here. So generally, no. If you're a fairly experienced trainee, I've been training for 4 years at this point. I was looking for something new. It varies gym to gym. There are great coaches in some gyms, not so great in others. The one I went to had a lot of people make it to the regionals and the semifinals of the games. This was a really hardcore
Wow.
CrossFit box, if you will.
Yeah.
But again, maintaining quality coaching in a classroom fitness setting with 30 people is tough. And I think last thing I'll say about it is make sure you delineate exercise from training. CrossFit classes, Orange Theory, it's exercise. It's great for you. It gets your heart rate up. Training is focused, it's programmed, it's deliberate, it's structured. I know CrossFit has some structured components to it. Don't yell at me in the comments. For the most part, it lacks true structure for the true beginner that may need a little more help figuring out the basics.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's a good bow on the CrossFit. Kate, hopefully we shed some light on this for you. And I think with that, we can roll into question 2. What do you got?
Yeah, question number 2. And if you can't tell, we're going to try and go a little bit rapid fire on these in some way. Just give you our honest opinion, our honest thoughts, unfiltered, unadulterated. This next question from Alan is, why are carbs perceived so badly? And in short, really, it's ignorance by definition of it's not knowing. Maybe we could define good carbs, bad carbs. Would you say that there are good carbs, bad carbs? Maybe,
That's a
maybe
loaded
not.
question. You know that's a
It's
loaded question.
yeah, I think it is. You're right. When I say good carbs, bad carbs, so there's not. Let's say there's not. Let's say there's not. There are carbs that can be misused, especially if you're in the category of not knowing the effects of what it can have on you. Now, what are the carbs that are not bad for you, or the good carbs? I would say anything that's naturally occurring. That we talk about this all the time. It having a lifespan, it coming from the ground or a tree or a root, or it was given to us in one step for the most part. Where we got crazy with carbohydrates was when we started having fun with them, trying to compete with who can make the most delicious carbohydrate possible. And big food has had their way with our belly in some ways. And carbohydrates are an extremely enjoyable food that we, I think, have to really educate ourselves in order to know how to use them properly. I think there's a lot of people go, oh, carbs are bad or carbs are good. I thought carbs were good. And they're talking about like bread, or they're talking about like rice. There are so many different layers to carbohydrates. How would you help someone who doesn't know how to navigate good carbs, bad carbs as the average American? How could you like give them a blanket understanding?
I would shed light on the fact that if you think closely, it's not the demonization of carbs that is the issue. Whenever you hear people in gyms or in social media videos say, cut the carbs, they always say the cookies, the cakes, the chips.
Mm-hmm.
Those are carbohydrates cooked in or mixed in with fat. Okay, and there's some things we need to know at a high level physiologically. The combination of carbs and fats overload our dopamine receptors. They mess with our satiety signals. They're hard to stop eating. They
They're mood
literally have food
enhancers.
scientists. Yeah, they're mood enhancers, and they hijack
Make you
our dopamine
happy. They
system
literally make you happy. They make
to
you.
the
That's why
point
we
where
like
you
them.
get sick. So I think
Yeah.
something to remember here is if you look at nature and what occurs naturally, carbohydrates and fat, you will not find them paired together in nature once. Where do we see sugar? We see it bound in fiber, which would
Mm-hmm.
slow the blood glucose response. For those of you that are curious about the physiology, sugar is always bound in fiber in nature. It's either in a fruit or a tuber, a potato, something like that, right? It exists independently. It is a carbohydrate only. Protein pretty much always exists in tandem with fat. Animals, beef, chicken, fish, you name it, eggs. Fat and protein exist together in nature, carbohydrates exist together in solitude in nature. When you pair the two, you get a hyper palatable food. Now, I love eating chicken, rice, and avocado. That's carbs and fats and proteins all mixed, but it's whole food based. It's a lot more satiating. So I want to challenge the average person to think when people are demonizing carbs, they're demonizing things that are carbs and fats paired together that are very easy to overconsume. And when you do that, it creates a negative connotation around all carbohydrate sources, which is not the
Mm-hmm.
case. You can lose weight and eat a ton of carbohydrates. You just need to be wary of the things that the food scientists are literally manufacturing in labs to put just the right amount of dust on the Dorito. So you want to put your hand back in the bag, just enough flavor on the Oreo so you want another bite. These are all very real things that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So look at labels, and anything you'll find in a boxer bag is a carb, corn, flour, bread, you name it, paired with a fat. And that is where the hyperpalatability comes in. Boiled potatoes by themselves, excessively filling. Not easy to overeat on. Boiled potatoes with butter, sour cream, salt, cheese, we all know it's a different story. So just be aware of the differences in the delineation of carbs versus fat is what I would
I,
say.
I feel like we could call it almost real carb versus man-made carb. Like there's a real
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrate and there's a man-made carbohydrate. Cupcakes did not ever appear until we
Those
happened.
didn't exist in nature.
But I'm so glad they exist. I.e., we wouldn't be selling. We wouldn't have. I think with the progression, that's the nice thing about the progression in science and technology is we have found ways to really make a hell of a party food, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Not when we're ignorant to the effects of it and then we blame it as the sole thing. I think what's missing is a lot of clarity within carbohydrates as to what they are. What are the naturally occurring carbohydrates? What are the carbohydrates that I can literally crave once I eat them? I've talked about this before on my Instagram, maybe at one point. One of the reasons why I stopped eating crumble cookies so frequently, I had a bad one, put it down, and I felt my body lunge for more and want more and desire more. I witnessed it. I didn't want it because it wasn't congruent with my goal at the time. And I was like, I'm going to be very prepared to have an exact amount so I can be sharp and focused. And as soon as I ate it, I was like, I didn't like that one. That wasn't worth losing focus. I put it down. And despite knowing it, I felt my body crave it. And I was like, most people have that, but they are maybe are missing the link to just witnessing the desire. And most of us can use that as, oh, I can't get away from carbs. I love carbs too much. Your body does. And it's been wired to,
Mm-hmm.
which is the area where I think we could use some grace on ourselves and just be, no,
Right.
no, no, no. Your brain is just doing what it's supposed to do, which is want more, but made it feel good. That's all.
I think
That's all it is.
the last point to make about that and that we failed to
Mm,
mention was follow the money. There's money in demonizing
yeah.
carbs. The Atkins diet's been around for 25 years. Keto supplements. If there was no one demonizing carbs, there would be no one to make money off of it. Someone saw an in to tell you that
Oh.
carbs make you fat, and they created products around it. Hence Atkins. Hence Bulletproof.
Ah.
So you can eat carbohydrates and lose weight, but a lot of time in this fitness industry, this pesky industry, if you follow the money, you will be able to find where someone exploited a potential factor
Someone's
fallacy and
personal
made a buck out of it.
interest. Someone's
Yeah,
personal interest. Interesting.
yeah. So
Man.
that's I think that was a really rounded out answer. Nicely done. I don't think that person will ever wonder about a carbohydrate again.
We've solved carbs for
Carbs are
good.
solved. Carbs are solved. Mathematical equation done. You want to roll to question 3? I think
Yeah,
it's
what we
me.
got?
So Daddy Fro from Instagram. I'm sorry, I wish I knew your name. That's just his handle on IG. Asked, "Is regression normal? Today I felt weaker in the gym, and I didn't really know why." This is a good question. It's a little bit, it seems like an abrupt question, but there's actually a lot to expand on here. I think that one thing that's important to disclose is that Yusuf and I, though we may portray a certain persona on social media, we don't always go into the gym and feel like killing it. We don't always want to go. Not every workout is a PR and a sick
Hmm.
pump and you feel lean and tight and you look crazy. Like, it's very important to know that if you're in this for the long haul, there are going to be good days, there are going to be fantastic days, and there are going to be bad days and shitty days. You're
Hmm.
not always going to feel great. Your sleep's going to be lacking sometimes. You're going to have a lot going on in your life. And it's just important to go and solidify the habit. But I'll give you an example. This week in training, I do a lot of very heavy strength based powerlifting style work in my training. It's how I enjoy it, enjoy working out. And I've recently transitioned to morning workouts, and that's been an adjustment.
Hmm.
And I was warming up for a PR, going for a PR on squats, and everything just felt shitty.
Yeah.
225 felt like 255, 260. And I
Mm.
knew if I kept pushing that I was going to hurt myself. And a year and a half ago, my ego would have said, just fucking go for it. And some days you can. But today, it wasn't a mental block. It wasn't pushed through it. I felt, okay, I'm banged up. I've been putting in a lot of running miles. Let's just do something. So I want to also state that you use the term regression, and I think regression is a gross overstatement. You had a bad workout. You didn't have a bad month. You didn't stop working out for 3 weeks. You did not regress. You're just off your game a little bit, and that's okay. I know we have different training styles, so I kind of want you to add into maybe what a bad workout would feel like for you,
Yeah.
or why you may feel weaker in the gym.
Yeah. If I have a bad workout, that means I have no pump. I have no recovery. I did not sleep. I have a bad attitude. And it's all at that point, you guessed it, mental. What a good workout should do, I feel like, is bring you to the present moment. But so long as you go, and this is one of my favorite ways to look at it, in Outwitting the Devil, failure is a state of mind. It is a man made state of mind. And with every failure comes the seed for an equal opportunity. So there is no real failure. My bad. One more quote. I love this one. Winston Churchill. Success is moving from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. And that
Love
I
that.
think is the hug that I love to hear. If someone I feel like is, I'm regressing. No, 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 no. Keep going. You might feel weaker in some aspect. That's not the success. The success is the self-awareness that's required to then improve it, and then use that reflection and that point for you as, what can I do to improve next time? What can I even look at? What did I do well that day? I still showed up anyway. Cool. That's
Right.
my answer on it.
Identify different places to win is what you, that was a good perspective. The only bad workout's the one that didn't happen. And maybe you didn't PR, but you did solidify the habit of going.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a certain piece of the lift felt good. Identify different ways to win. So it's normal um, to have an off day in the gym. That's okay.
Very.
To
Yeah.
not feel 100%, but it's not a loss. It's not a regression. So with that, I think we can roll into four, which is you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. So, next question, number 4, meal prep or daily cooking? Thoughts? I'm going to spare the it's situational and this and that. For me personally, I have a meal prep subscription, and it's only because I know the company and the founder very well, and I'm aware of their added. I know their mission statement. I know what goes on in the factory or in their logistics center. They're an incredible brand. They're called Nutrition Solutions. I love the CEO to death, just as an example that he sets. So I know that he runs himself militant. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's got an incredible backstory, and he personifies that in his meal prep company and his brand. And so, I mean, really, it's food in excellence form. They're extremely deliberate with the ingredients. I'm not sponsored by them by any means, but I picked them on purpose. We can get into whether you prefer meal prep or whether you prefer
Yeah.
cooking fresh. I personally, at this stage in my life, situationally with context, I spend a lot of time trying to work on big tasks. And that present moment for me, cooking isn't super worth it if I know that there is a service out there that's willing to provide that for me and take that load off of me. I've cooked in the past. I've enjoyed it. I love cooking steak. I love cooking eggs. Those are my quickest favorite things to put together. And extremely satiating when I was losing the most amount of weight I ever lost in my life, when I was 40 pounds richer and got lean. I was practically making steak and eggs and avocado for breakfast every single morning, and I would be full for 4 to 5 hours. And I didn't have to think about food. I would just go back to work. I just was able to stay mentally occupied. So for me, meal prep is my favorite because it's ready, and I like the
Right.
convenience of that. I'm aware you have a different mode that you're in your life now, or you run your house a little differently. How do you
Yeah.
run it? What do you do?
I think I haven't really shared on social media or anything, but I'm a big food buff. I love to cook. I love watching cooking content on YouTube, binging with Babish, Maddie Matheson, Gordon Ramsay stuff. I love MasterChef. Like I love
You
food. I love
have,
fine
yeah.
dining. Like I like nice food, and I love to cook extravagant meals, but I like to make my macro friendly, high protein meals taste good. So with where I'm at, and I get what you're saying, it's like kind of the walk of life. Right now, you're pulling really long days, and it's just easier to pop up from the desk and microwave something that's nutrient dense, whole food, high protein. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I prefer fresh food right now. I have the time for it. And I also believe at sort of a deeper philosophical level, everybody in their lives should have a few things that take them away from everything except the present moment. And for me, weight training and endurance training do that, but so does cooking. And to elaborate on that a little bit, it's like no matter what I have going on in my life, finances, relationships, family, whatever's stressing me out, work, when I have a barbell on my back or in my hands, I can't think about anything but that. When I'm running, I'm just sort of letting my mind go. It's sort of meditative. And when I'm cooking, and anyone who cooks regularly will tell you this. It's like when you're doing it and everything's in front of you, you're making a nice meal. It's the only thing that's on your mind is getting that right. And it takes you
Mm.
away and puts you in the present moment. And there's a lot of power in having activities like that. It's different for everybody, but those are my things. So I love cooking for that reason is I get 12 minutes to myself to make a steak. And even if it's steak and roasted potatoes, it's just the only thing I'm thinking about when I'm doing it. And I love cooking and I love making food taste good. So if I can, I'll probably after our conversation about the first time you mentioned that meal prep company, I reached out to a buddy here in Metro Atlanta who owned a meal prep company. He's put it to the side for another endeavor. But I would like to have some on hand as we work more together. And this is my full time gig, and days are going to get long. It has its place. I think it comes down
Mm-hmm.
to how much time you have, how much time you're willing to commit, or how much
Absolutely.
intention you want to put into it. I think that about wraps it up.
If you have question for you, if you had two meals that you could cook 10 minutes each that are your go-tos, what would they be? High protein.
Oh, easy. You can make if you know how to cook a steak well and not overcook it. It doesn't take more than 10 minutes. For me, it'd be a ribeye and roasted potatoes would be meal number one. Number two would
How do you do
be
potatoes? How do you do them?
I hit them with a little bit of duck fat, just like a 2 teaspoons. I love the
Really?
flavor of duck fat. Oh my God, you ever had duck fat French fries? Oh, it's a delicacy. It's so good.
Uh,
You can buy it by the jar at Whole Foods. So I buy duck fat. I drizzle the red potato or the sweet potato with the duck fat, and then I hit it with garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, and then I air fry it, and it's done in
can
20
I
minutes.
can I ask you something? I apologize in advance if this is inappropriate for our viewers. I had an awkward with duck fat. Have you flatulence? Is there a specific type of aroma duck fat gives you? I'm sorry, I apologize in advance if anyone is disgruntled by this question, but that's
I did
what,
not expect you to ask me that.
yeah, I
No,
had an,
I haven't noticed anything from that.
okay. Okay. I have a personal experience that I maybe am not going to allude to. I'll spare everybody. I apologize if this question was grotesque. That's more so why I was curious. That was the only thing that has ever refrained me from getting duck fat fries at a restaurant. I'm going
Mm.
to spare it. I'm going to spare it. I'm going to spare it because I care
Yeah,
about
do
you
us all the
guys.
favor, huh?
Yeah, I care about you guys. I apologize, and I hope that wasn't childish. Like I genuinely, this is what goes through my
It seemed
mind.
like genuine curiosity, so I appreciate it.
It
But that
was.
that's meal one. Meal two would literally be I posted it on my story last week. I air fried chicken thighs. I hit them with Dano's seasoning.
Hmm.
It's all pre-made, all purpose, the best. Dano, please sponsor us. I promise we'll use it all the time. I already do. Dano's chicken thighs, air fried, and then a VT brand microwave rice takes 2 minutes. And I just chop that up, mix it together with avocado, and I pour raw honey and soy sauce and sriracha. It's like a sweet and spicy sauce. That
Mm.
takes me a total of 20 minutes, 3 minutes if you have the cooked chicken pre-cooked. So those are my go-to home-based meals, and they taste good.
Yeah, I'll give you guys my two really quickly. Pastured eggs. I'll do 2 or 3 eggs, salt, pepper, and if you can prepare ground bison ahead of time, and I even would get prepared bell peppers from Whole Foods. I would do prepared bell peppers and onions. Crack 3 eggs, put them on the pan, cook with butter, and then I would just dump the I already cooked ground bison beforehand. I just mix it all together. Delicious, high protein, savory, crunchy meal with vegetables in it. Just eggs, ground bison, ground peppers, ground onions, salt, pepper, garlic powder. Last thing, my go-tos, Trader Joe's barbecue chicken teriyaki and
I knew
microwavable
you were going to say
rice.
that.
Yeah, those are the two, all under 10 minutes, done quickly, delicious. Doesn't feel like you're eating out at home. Doesn't feel like chicken, rice, and broccoli. That's the straight typical chicken, rice, and broccoli. So 4 meals, boom, 10
There
minutes
you go.
each or even under.
Yeah, not bad.
Fantastic.
Not bad. Let us know
All
if you
right.
make one of those in the comments. We'd appreciate it. Are we on question 4 or 5?
We're on. I don't know, but someone said that, by the way, in a comment that you should start that they're petitioning for you to do cooking episodes. Did you know
Oh
that?
man. Don't get me started. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I may have to start ripping cooking content on here.
yeah, do it. Absolutely. I know it's your question, but I don't
Oh,
know
it is.
what number we're on.
Okay. Blake asked us, how would you go about cutting weight without messing up your metabolism? A bit of a loaded question, but one that I feel like people get confused about a lot. I get
Okay.
questions about this all the time. I know you do too on
hmm
comments. Help,
hmm
I crashed my metabolism from a bad diet. What do I do now?
A client of ours asked us. He said, "I have a bad metabolism." But I was like, "No, you don't." He's
No, you
like,
don't.
"What?" I was like, "No, you don't. Stop it." And he was like, "Okay, if you say okay, you're right." And I was like, you didn't believe
That's
it."
it's just like people tell some ripped guy says you're crashing your metabolism, and sometimes people just go, "Oh, I must be crashing my metabolism." Fact of the matter is this:
Follow the
there's no
money.
such thing as really follow the money. Yes, follow the money. Buy my pill; it'll repair your metabolism forever. It's only $999. Um, if you really think about it, our bodies have come through tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years of feast and famine periods. We didn't always have food readily available in pantries like we do now. There may be weeks without food in, our early ancestors. So anytime I hear a comment like this about how the body's dumb, like don't eat after 8 p.m. or it turns to fat, don't eat carbs or it turns to fat, don't eat too little or your metabolism crashes. It's like our bodies have made it through so much shit throughout the generations of our lineage. You really think it's that dumb that it's just gonna shut off if you do something wrong? So starvation mode sounds like what he's alluding to here. Also sort of a myth. What really happens here, and I'll spare too much science, but you get what's called metabolic adaptation. Your body's job is not to get you jacked. It's not to build muscle. It's not to get you lean. It's to keep you alive. And if you are, let's say you're a 5'10", 175-pound male, and you moderately exercise 3 to 5 days a week, you probably need somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 calories a day to maintain your weight, just for a round example. A lot of guys get into I can't tell you how many guys I've talked to that are 6'2", 255, and they're eating 1,600 calories a day. And I'm like, you're not a 15-year-old girl. You do not have the metabolic needs of one either. What happens is there's a paring down that takes place. Your body sees, oh, we're getting way less energy. We maybe need to slow some processes down here. We need to make him more metabolically efficient. Otherwise, they would see a form of starvation occurring. It's your body's natural response. It's not starvation mode. Your metabolism doesn't shut off, it's always running. All you do is feed it a little more food, and it responds accordingly after a couple of weeks. So there's no amount of cutting necessarily that's going to mess up your metabolism unless you get to like a dangerously lean level of, for males, 2 to 6% body fat where hormones become an issue. Maybe you're talking about damage there. But even so, if you're going to cut weight, and Blake, I happen to know you're fairly lean. I saw some of your content on IG. Looks like you did your first natural bodybuilding show. Congratulations. The rule of thumb, keep it simple. Let's stick with 3 to 600 calories below your maintenance every day. If you're morbidly obese, you can maybe go 700, a little bit more aggressive. If you stay there, there's going to be no damage, no messing up of the metabolism. And that's really all I have to say about that. I'm always happy to shed light on the metabolism damage remark, but I am curious. I know when I got started coaching with you, a lot of your clients saw sick results before they ever really tracked a calorie and just were a
Mhm.
little bit more intentional about protein intake and whole foods. So I'm curious
Yeah.
what your opinion is on this question.
Yeah, I like to break it down to the extreme basics. These three things: recovery, fitness, nutrition. Recovery can be mindfulness as well. So if you're expending energy and you're intaking energy, and you're aware of that flow and you're recovering properly, aka sleeping. If you're sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night as compared to 7, 8 hours a night, there's a drastic difference in your recovery, your hormone function, your satiety signaling. Pretty much every physiological function is going to be damaged or impaired with poor nutrition, poor lifestyle, and poor sleep. There's no amount of fat burner, no amount of BCAA, or no amount of speed up your metabolism pill that could quite possibly ever speed up your metabolism. That same or have this anywhere near the same effect as your lifestyle choices. So if you're worried about a slow metabolism, but you haven't tracked your sleep, you don't have a good bedtime routine or a good morning routine, you don't have a good intake or a good flow of clean, unprocessed foods going through your system, and you're aware of it and you're exercising well, I think that you don't need to be worrying about metabolism. You need to be worrying about how to run your life and how to run your body. Metabolism, by definition, I pulled it up because we had Jeopardy this morning, and metabolism was one of the questions, one of the answers. What is metabolism? Metabolism is it just refers to the chemical process that occurs within any living organism to maintain life. In simpler terms, it's the biochemical reactions in your body that convert the food / energy you eat into energy or other essential molecules for various physiological functions. Your veins, your blood flow, your brain function, your hormone production, all of these things, you getting skin cells to the hair to the nails, all of these things are influenced by your body's ability to run efficiently. Running efficiently, how do we do that? Sleep, eat well, and exercise well. If you're worried about slow metabolism, but you don't have those things down, we don't know what metabolism is. And so therefore we have no right to say it's mine's good or bad, but you don't know how those three things are going. If you can get a good feel for that, Yeah, exactly. And also it's not anyone's fault. Also, most importantly, we've all heard these things and we take it and parrot it and we think those are our words, but we just don't even know what they really are for right now.
Yeah, it's a good way to say
That's
it.
all. That's all.
You want to roll into your next question?
Yeah. What do we got? We have these two questions actually I'm really excited for because you'll have a lot more insight than me. This one's about lifting and running. So thoughts on cardio / lifting ratios. I assume this person's meaning thoughts on how often should I be lifting and running as compared to one another. And then the context they provided is looking for advice as to what's best for lean muscle. Okay. That wording I'm going to get a little tripped up on because I can't help but notice it and want to correct it because it's not the person's fault. So thoughts on cardio lifting ratios, looking for advice as far as what's best for lean muscle. So if you want to build muscle, you don't build big muscle, you don't build small muscle, you build muscle, whatever muscle proportional to what you broke down. Cool, right? How do you rebuild it? Protein intake and sleep and recovery, adequate nutrition, hydration. That's how you build muscle. Okay. So running and lifting are both can coexist and you can build muscle doing both. I have very little experience doing cardio. That fell very far from me compared to my dad. Michael and I both learned about each other actually very recently. Both of our fathers ran track and were avid runners. But both of them are
named Michael.
and my middle name is Michael, and Michael's name is Michael, and both of our dad's names are Michael, and they ran track. I'm the only one who doesn't run between the four of us. I would say for me, what's the best advice for what's building lean muscle? Weight training is. Cardio doesn't really have an impact besides the fact it improves you as a whole, as a vessel, as a trust of muscle, bones, tissue, organs. Cardio training altogether just improves your physiological function altogether. The only cardio I do is burpees and push-ups. And some people see it on my stories and people go, how do you know when to stop? What's your push-up burpee routine? I go to where it feels like my soul went to Vietnam. That's all. I just go to where I feel like I got my shit rocked. And that moves up a little bit more each day. I'm not nearly as calculated. Now, you as the runner between us, you want to run this morning. You're doing a running club. You're like tracking your run. You have a Garmin watch, I think. You have some watch that is really, really in depth with what it shows. No, I don't have that. I look at my steps, if that, and burpees. Well, you actually have the experience running and lifting. What in terms of physical performance? So I'm hoping we answered at the base. Looking for advice as far as what's best for building muscle, weight training. Yes. Weight training, period. 3 to 6 days a week is going to be your sweet spot in weight training. You weight train 3 to 6 days a week. You eat protein and you recover well. You're golden on building muscle. What helps? Improving your body holistically across the board is going to help you with everything else from the physical, mental, emotional, every level. But you have more experience actually running. Can you speak to maybe what running is like while lifting and what your routine is? More about you. I'd actually really love to learn more about running because I don't know anything about running. I have no experience, really no experience.
So
How could you
it's
relay it?
different. It's different for everybody. I've worked up to a certain capacity of running and lifting, but if you're a beginner in both, I don't advise going out and running 3 to 5 miles 4 days a week
Mm,
and trying to lift 3 days a week. You're going to put a lot of strain on the body. Over time, I have built up to where I maintain a baseline of fitness between 15 and 20 miles per week running and 3 strength-based workouts per week. I didn't start there. I had to do a lot of training. I ran my first marathon last year. I'm training for an ultra marathon in November. It took a long time to get here. This morning, I was out, like you said, with a run club. We did 7 miles, the Atlanta Run Club here in the area. Ton of fun. I enjoy it. If you enjoy running and your goal is to build muscle, don't stop running just because you heard it's bad for muscle gain. Because a lot of people say that. If your nutrition is dialed in and your training is dialed in on the weights, you can make great progress. There are plenty of
hmm
jacked people out there who run way more than I do and are way more jacked than I'll ever be. Nick Bear,
hmm
Luke Hopkins, Jack Driscoll, training to be the fittest man on earth. If you don't know that guy's content, go watch. It's crazy. You can get jacked and run, but weight training is at the foundation where you're getting stronger week over week, either adding weight to the bar, adding reps, as we said earlier, and then you sprinkle in running around it. And I would start with minutes over miles. If you're a beginner, go out and do a 20-minute jog where your heart rate stays below what I would say 180 minus your age. It's called the Maffetone method. So I'm 25, 180 minus 25. I like to keep my heart rate below 155. It's a relatively easy pace. It's called zone 2. That's what I would recommend to start. And if the goal is lean muscle gain, there's no such thing as lean muscle if you haven't gathered from what Yusuf said earlier. It's just muscle. You need to build strength training as your foundation, get on a good program, follow it for multiple weeks and months, eat enough protein, 1 gram per pound of lean body weight, or 1 gram per pound of body weight if you want to cover your bases. Train, eat enough calories, and running will not be counterintuitive to your goals, assuming you are recovering well. If you're
hmm
not recovering well, you're going to start to feel like shit really fast. So I think we answered the question pretty soundly. Start with strength training and do running if you enjoy it. Eat enough protein, eat enough calories, and you'll be good to go. Yeah, we can roll into my final question.
hmm
Uh, Josh asked, what is the importance of hydration pre workout? Everyone tells me to focus on simple carbs. What about water? I picked this question because I'm very passionate about hydration. And if I can, I'm going to go off and go deep into the science behind what all this means and how important hydration is. I don't just mean water, I mean water and electrolytes. Where sodium goes, water flows. We need electrolytes in our water for proper hydration levels. Stop drinking plain water, sprinkle salt in it throughout the day intermittently. So let's talk about how important hydration is to a pre workout or pre training bout, albeit in running, endurance training, or strength training. If you don't already, please go follow Dr. James DiNicolantonio. He's a doctor of
Yes.
pharmacy. Me and Yusuf cite his content all the time.
hmm
He is unbelievable. And when I found him, fortunately, when I was on marathon prep and running 40, 45 miles a week, in the Georgia summers, it's fairly humid. You lose a lot of fluid and a lot of electrolytes: sodium, potassium, magnesium. I want to clearly make that distinction because marketing has
hmm
taught some people that electrolytes are a supplement. No, they're electrolyte supplements. They have electrolytes within them: sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride. These
hmm
are electrolytes in our bodies.
hmm
So, that being said, how important is hydration for pre workout? I would argue more important in a lot of ways than pre workout nutrition. And here's why.
Wow.
Sodium, proper sodium levels in blood have shown to have up to a 20-fold performance increase output in resistance training and endurance exercise bouts. What does that mean? You can do a shit ton more work if you're properly hydrated with electrolytes.
And you feel like
What
it.
do
And
you
you feel
feel?
like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have had maybe like Chinese food with a bunch of sodium and soy sauce and you get that crazy pump in the gym. You feel strong. That's the salt talking. What this does physiologically, a couple of things. Sodium with water, for example, pre lift or pre run, I have anywhere from 500 to 1500 milligrams of Himalayan salt, sea salt, Celtic salt, whatever you like, a high quality salt, mixed in 32 ounces of water. It's going to do a couple things: boost blood volume, which is very conducive to good training effort. It's going to help how our brain and muscles communicate. Our brain and muscles communicate via electrical charges. Electrolytes help to better conduct those electrical charges. So one can assume now more electrolyte in the muscle and the brain, better message, stronger
More
contraction, more
energy.
force output, more
hmm
energy. So I would say proper hydration, and I mean water and electrolytes, is paramount to training. Now, pre-workout carbs can be a great tool. I have a teaspoon of raw honey, some salt, and some water before a workout. Crazy pump. I feel fantastic. It's quick energy. But a lot of people miss out on the electrolytes and then wonder why they feel like shit on their runs when it's hot, or they feel a little weak in the gym or tired. Next time you're tired or you're going into a training session, pop 500 milligrams of sodium into some water and drink that down. Salt's not the enemy. This is the last thing I'll say. Salt is not the enemy. Processed foods and sugars paired with an ass load of salt is the enemy. When you eat a whole natural food diet, a diet rich in animal proteins, vegetables, fruits, you need to add salt because those things don't have a lot of sodium in them naturally. And when you do that, me personally and many others have seen an incredible increase in performance. So, do you have any experience like salt loading? I know I've been telling you about it at every opportunity since we started talking, but have you tried it yet?
No, salt loading?
Like just having like 1,000 milligrams in water before you go train.
No, I have not.
You would
But I
look
do take
crazy
electrolyte.
with a pump
I
on if you did that.
I do take electrolytes first thing in the morning. I dry scoop it with my water. I just swish it, down it. That's the fastest way I can get it in. That, and then I have a pump supplement before, which if I'm not mistaken, actually has a lot of electrical components to it. I was gonna say electrolyte components. There's a lot of electrical components to it, and vasodilation as well. But no, how would someone salt load? How do you do it? So you just take it before? You take how much before?
Yeah. Between 30 to 45 minutes before your training session, albeit lifting or running. I do a little more when I run because I sweat like crazy, and you're just going to sweat more running outside than you would in the gym. What I would do is start with a quarter teaspoon or roughly 500 milligrams of a good quality salt, Himalayan pink, sea salt, not iodized table salt. Mix that in about 20 to 32 ounces of water. Sip on it leading up to your workout. Don't chug it. Sometimes, if you've never done this before, it can be a little irritating to the stomach. We'll say that.
Mm.
And then go try that 30 minutes before your workout. And I think a lot of you will notice a difference. Now, if you're eating a ton of processed foods, don't worry about adding salt. Fix that first. Fix the big rock and then add the salt. But that's how I do it. And I literally can't live my life without it. Every morning, salt water, pre workout, salt water. I'm feeling tired, salt water. I have a cut, salt. I'm just kidding.
Mm.
Salt water's the cure all, the remedy.
And final question. What are your thoughts on taking supplements like fat burners, creatine, and BCAAs? I'm going to start with one of those does not belong in that category, despite the fact they're supplements, and it would be creatine. Does not belong in that category.
Mm-hmm.
So more so, we're going to answer this maybe twofold. So what are your thoughts on taking supplements like fat burners and BCAAs? Michael, you're actually significantly more passionate about that answer than me. Maybe even creatine. You do have a viral video on creatine specifically. Do you also have a viral video about fat burners, BCAAs?
That's correct. Yes.
This is you. Have at what are you thinking? How would you help the common person um, understand the basics of fat burners and BCAAs first? Those two, fat burners and BCAAs. How would you help the common person
Mm-hmm.
understand those two? How to navigate
The
using them?
very, 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 very first thing I would say before I share my opinions, thoughts, and facts is save your damn money. Buy food. All right. Let's talk a little bit about why. BCAAs and fat burners were both in my video of biggest bullshit supplements to not spend money on. Let's start with the BCAAs. Branch chain amino acid is what that stands for. What does that mean in plain English? Incomplete protein. You know where you can get complete protein and what your body needs is complete protein? Meat, eggs, fish, protein powder, Fairlife shakes, you name it. Why would you go spend $55 on 30 servings of a protein that your body can't fully assimilate to build muscle tissue when you can go spend $9 on 2 pounds of meat and get everything you need from that protein source? If you love $55 Kool-Aid or Juicy Juice, then you keep buying your Fruity Pebble Punch
Wait,
BCAAs.
Michael, why do BCAAs and fat burners exist then?
Follow the money.
You're telling me these things have no benefit? I would wait. People made stuff not for our wait. So who do they market to? Who do they market fat burners and BCAAs to? What do they?
The
Who's it for?
unconsciously incompetent.
Oh gosh, man. Unfortunately, that sounds accurate. Damn.
It's a shame. It's another supplement that, and even if people will tell you, well, I took BCAs and my recovery was way better, probably just because you thought it would be. A little bit of placebo there. They don't do anything for the most part. If you want to get into the fine details of EAAs and certain supplements. It's like, are we winning? Are we trying to win Mr. Olympia here? No. Most of us are just trying to get fit and look good, in which case supplements are just that. They're meant to supplement your already healthy lifestyle. They are the 2% when your 98% is locked in. So if you're not eating well, whole natural foods, you're not training hard, you're not sleeping well, don't even touch BCAAs. Which brings me to the next one, fat burners. All fat burners are is an ass load of stimulants for the most part designed to suppress your appetite. Mostly caffeine is the biggest component to all of these.
Mm-hmm.
Caffeine's an appetite suppressant. Thereby, maybe you'll eat less, which maybe will put you in a calorie deficit, which will cause fat loss. Fat burners do not burn fat. You want to save your money? Have a cup of coffee. Get the caffeine. Coffee is bitter and astringent, which reduces our appetite. But don't buy fat burners anymore. If you have them, send them back. If you've opened them and they won't take them, burn them. Throw them away. I don't care. Don't use them. But you're right. I would say creatine absolutely does not belong in that category. It is monumentally helpful. You don't take it though, do you?
No, I don't.
Why not? Oh, that's right. We talked
I
about
break
this
I
just
break out a
on the
little. I
phone.
don't know why. It just correlation is for me. I'm aware of the physiological benefits. I feel stronger every time without fail. I just break out. I genuinely just break out when I have creatine. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. Maybe it's just me. I could be an idiot. I really don't know. I could just but there's no other thing that changes. I just personally break out. It's the same
Hmm.
spots, forehead, sides. I don't know what it is. I just break out, but it makes a huge difference. Absolutely, it's just not worth it
Yeah.
for me. I gotta look pretty
If
on social
you're,
media.
I hear you. If you're gonna take it, everybody's a little different to his point. If you're gonna take it, quick tips I would say, do creatine monohydrate. It's the most well researched. If it upsets your tummy a little bit, try a different form like creatine HCl. But it's the most well studied supplement in exercise performance history, specifically monohydrate, with notable gains up to, in some studies, a 10% strength increase from taking creatine monohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
That could be 30 pounds on a squat if you squat over 300 pounds. In short, what does creatine do? It gives us more readily available ATP, adenosine triphosphate. I use ATP when I do this. For those of you listening on Spotify, I'm lifting my hand up quickly. It's our body's most immediate, quickest energy source. We use it in explosive efforts, i.e., weight training, sprinting, things that are short bouts of intense energy. So having more readily available ATP is a good thing. Creatine does that. You'll feel stronger. I personally recommend taking it. It's gotten really expensive lately, but it's certainly not required. It is not required to build a great body. No supplement is. Don't let anybody tell you different. You can build an
Mm-hmm.
incredible physique on whole foods, good sleep, and a solid training program. But if you have a fat burner or BCA and you're listening to this podcast and you know who we are, I'm going to find you. All
You
right? I'm
just
going to
we
make sure
just
you
freed
don't
up
ever touch it again.
we just freed up $50 a month for someone possibly. What could they spend with that? I think you could get 5 cartons of eggs, 6 cartons of pastured eggs for the
Hmm.
month. Boom. What's 6 times 12 times 6? 6 times 12 is 72 times, right? Times
Yep.
6. Oh my God. What's 72 times 6? 432 grams of protein. Clean protein we just freed this person up to get.
There you go.
Amazing. Wow. 432 grams of protein. $50. Spectacular.
Unbelievable. You never would have gotten a gram of that if you kept taking your damn BCAs and fat burners. Out here saving money one episode at a time. I think that brings us to the end of our question list. Am I wrong?
No, I believe it does. So we've saved people from fat burners, slow metabolisms, bad carbs, um, not building uh, unlean muscle. Now they're going to build lean muscle,
Yeah.
and we know how to run. Do you have any parting or final advice, maybe when it comes to running electrolytes or supplements?
I would say if you're a beginner, do a little bit of your own research. You're not going to find all the answers in this podcast. There's an abundant amount of free information. You can literally just go on YouTube and type in how to start running, how to supplement electrolytes, and you'll find everything you need, far more than I'd be willing to give you in this episode because you'll be here for a while. So I suggest you do that. Take it upon yourself to learn, and don't not run because you heard once that it might be bad for building muscle, because it has a whole host of other benefits. It's great for your heart. It's great for your longevity. Do what you like, do what you enjoy, because that's what you'll stick to. And on that note, is there any final notes before you want to get into the step check and close this bad boy out?
You did give me one piece of advice on running before, and it was start with minutes, not miles.
Hmm.
And I think keeping that in mind can help people keep their frame of mind on something very simple. It's not going to be good or bad. It's just you running. And then also, too, most importantly, to expand on the point that you just made about don't get discouraged if you think you've ever heard this. The human body can do incredible things. We've talked about this past week. James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, who did 50 Ironmen in 50 days in 50 states. The human body can do absolutely incredible, amazing things if we push it and we know how to use it. And there is absolutely a little bit of that type of person inside of each of us for ourselves in our own body, and you can do it. It just starts with one step and one day at a time.
One day at a time.
What's our step? Okay. I haven't stepped outside yet today. We started with our group Jeopardy call.
Yeah,
and
it's early.
Pretty much just started. I was going to walk before we got on the podcast, but you were quick. It is 11:29 PST, and I am at 1,200 steps.
It is 2:29 EST, and I'm at 13,605. But I did run 7 miles, so that's where all of them came from. So it's not really fair. So we're no longer going to keep score because I always have a 3-hour head start on Yusuf, and that's not fair. But we are going to say them at the end of the episode. So please drop your step check in the comments. Let us know your feedback. If you got just one valuable thing, like the video, comment, subscribe. It seriously does help us out. If you're on Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. If assuming it's worth 5 stars, we sincerely appreciate it. It's a huge help. And lastly, if you want to be a part of the most badass coaching community ever, we are building an incredible one here between the two of us. We'll have a link in the bio to book a consult call with us. If you're interested in coming along the journey alongside us personally, book a call. We'll be happy to talk to you. And we will see you in episode 6.
See you guys.
Episode
Bye.
6. Bye, y'all.